I think that when you're meant to do something, there's an energetic push. I call it God pushing you forward to light the path of where you're supposed to be and the purpose that your soul's supposed to be on. And this was very much like that.
Welcome to Behind Their Success. This podcast is for people who are feeling stuck on their entrepreneurial journey or in their careers. It's for people who want to scale and grow their businesses, learn about the power of mindset, or they just know there's more out there and they want to start making changes. I'm Peyton Squires, the host of the podcast. I was never cut out to be an employee, and when I was an employee, I was bored out of my mind. So I made a plan. I studied and passed the CPA exam in 8 months while working, all with the end goal in mind of quitting my job and starting my own business. I did that in 2014 and has been an amazing wild ride since. So now let's hear from other entrepreneurs and what mindsets, and probably more important, what actions they have taken that have created and led to their success. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Behind Their Success podcast. I am Peyton Squires, the host, and today we have on Dr.Arminta Phelps. She is the owner of Achieve Balance Chiropractic in Columbia, Missouri. She began Achieve Balance as part of her mission to help people achieve optimal health and wellness through chiropractic care and wellness education. She has won numerous awards, including Columbia Chamber of Commerce Small Business of the Year, Como Magazine's 20 Under 40, among other things as well. She also happens to be one of my close friends, and having seen her speak about health and wellness and a lot of different areas and seen her speak publicly about what she does, her passion really comes through. So I'm super excited to have you on this morning, Arminta. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Peyton.
Yes, Arminta, I gave a little bit of your background. You're a chiropractor, right? Running your own business. Give us a little background on your journey. How did you get where you are today?
Oh, well, that's a deep question. We're going to go on a journey today. So I grew up small farm town, Missouri, and my first remembrance of knowing, like intuitionally, that I was going to help people with health is one day I was running through the kitchen. I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and I ran up to my mom and was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a doctor. And like, she reminded me of this, but I have a total recollection of this conversation from when I was little. Fast forward, life happens and you're in college, and like most college students, you don't know what the heck you want to do when you grow up, and you're just there figuring things out. And that was the boat that I was in. And I was a biology major. So thank God that I was at least in the right category to pursue the profession. And I was getting ready to actually start a dental program and a dental entrance exam. And I hurt my neck waiting tables and met a great chiropractor here local. His name's Jeremy Maxwell. He's a fantastic guy. And I went to a chiropractor because my neck hurt. And what else are you supposed to do? So just like typical people understanding what chiropractic is, like neck pain, back pain, and headaches. When I went to Jeremy, he expanded my consciousness on what that looks like. And when I learned about what chiropractic is, about self-healing and nervous system regulation and brain-body connection and the ability to heal naturally from the inside out, I was like, I want this. I want all of this. And so 6 months later, I'm in Davenport, Iowa. So once the decision was made, it was like the doors opened that I can't explain. I think that when you're meant to do something, there's an energetic push. I call it God pushing you forward to light the path of where you're supposed to be and the purpose that your soul's supposed to be on. And this was very much like that. Fast forward a little bit more. I'm in Davenport. This is where Palmer was, where I went to school. And I get a phone call from my mother like 4 days before our orientation class. Like, we were just there. We were just getting settled in. And lo and behold, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. We were like, well, Mom, what are you going to do about that? And our mentality, like my mentality, was like medical model. What do the doctors say? Let's do what the doctors say. And again, it was like a God moment. Like on that call, she's like, I'm not comfortable doing what they tell me to do. Her intuition, her enteric nervous system, her gut response was like, there's something different out there that I can do to help myself with that. And I think that's one of the things that we really preach about is there's choices, there's options, In our world, we're not given a lot of options when it comes to our health. There's surgeries. There's not like, they don't say, hey, why don't you go and try proper nutrition or some chiropractic care? So we said, why don't we try chiropractic? And then we started getting her adjusted. And then when it comes to chiropractic, and if you're really in it, you understand that there's a lifestyle around it, like eating better, exercising, meditation, mindfulness. It's a whole embodiment of our ecosystem to get our bodies to function right. And so we started to put that model around my mom, and she stopped falling. She had more energy. I mean, this girl had to end work at lunchtime so she could go home and rest. So she had enough energy to take care of herself at night. She was really sick. And I just watched her start to transform. And it took time. Like, it didn't happen overnight. And that's another thing that people really need to understand about health and true healing is it takes time. It takes time for balance. Like, you don't get a six pack overnight. You get a six pack.
No, you do not.
Like, it takes decades sometimes to get to that physique level. So it is time and repetition. And I'm happy to say that in October, it will be 20 years for her diagnosis. She has never taken a drug for her MS. And she's healthier now than she was then. Honestly, like, it's unreal. If you guys are familiar, if you're listening to this from Columbia, Missouri, you guys mostly know about API Fitness. So shout out to Darrell for that gym. That's where my mother goes to work out. Holy cow. She's there 5 days a week, 7 o'clock in the morning, and she pushes weight over herself. She does handstands. She's 70 years old. Chiropractic works. So that's the journey that got me into, I'm going to own my own business. We're going to do this. I'm obsessed. Okay. Fast forward to being at the end of school and getting ready to graduate and all of this, because all of this happened while I was still in school. My mom was under the care of another chiropractor. And then I got pregnant while I was at school. But, pressure makes diamonds whenever it comes to things like this. And so I really think that it's, again, like, things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And I don't care how hard that situation looks, it is 100% happening for you. There's a purpose, there's a direction, there's a meaningful reason why it's happening. And so watch for the meaning behind it. Because if it wasn't for the pressure that it took for Jackson to be there and be like, I got to do this, then Achieve Balance wouldn't have existed, because I had to feed a baby. I had to pay off student loans. I had a purpose that I had to give to this world. And that was 16 years ago this summer. And we are having freaking fun every day doing it and serving the people. We just recently moved into this brand new state-of-the-art facility a couple of years ago that we were fortunate enough to purchase the building, completely renovate it, and have the practice of my dreams.
That's really interesting. It's like, you had that vision, right? You had that vision for a long time period. And it's pretty amazing. Like, you think back of, you were so far away from that 20 years ago where you're at now, and just thinking, having that vision and looking back and seeing what you've accomplished and how it has all gone from a thought in your head to reality. So you've got the successful practice going, right? You guys do a fantastic job there. I'm a client myself. The vibe and the way you guys take care of people and just love on people as they come in there. From my outside perspective, I think that's what really makes you guys successful.
I think that really comes down to core values. I've been coached and guided by all sorts of different variety of teachers over the years. And somebody introduced us to the Entrepreneurial Operating System and EOS system. We got to give a shout out to Gino Wickman with the Traction book, because that book really helped connects our office to a place that, like, I was like, ooh, oh, this is what structure's like. Because first you're figuring it out. You don't like I got to be a doctor, not a business owner. I don't know anything about any of that. And over the years, meeting like my greatest mentor, Barry Anderson, who gave me tough love in a way that nobody else could, to wake me up, and to learning how to do this entrepreneur operating system and creating core values that we don't breaking. They are there. We make every decision based off of them, and they are a heartbeat. And our first one is loving service. You love them in and you love them out. And like, vibration and energy is everything. And if we can elevate their experience from sight, sound, smell, touch, energy, and then remove the subluxation, wow, can we 10x the adjustment too? Can we make it even more powerful than what it actually even is, which is like almost impossible to think of. The adjustment is so powerful. We structure everything based off of that. Me and my husband do annual vision casting and visual retreats. And just to bring you into the mix, my husband is the manager of the office and the company. I couldn't do what I do without him managing and doing what he does. I'm definitely the visionary of the whole operation. And then we go on annual retreats where we will sit down and we will line it out. Where's our 10-year, 5-year, 20-year goal? Does this still equate to our energy and our values of our family and our company? And then let's look back at the other ones that we've done. So we'll pull out our old VGOs and say, oh, that happened. It's amazing what happens when you write down something and you come back to it a year later. You just have to plant the seed to the atmosphere and let God know that you're serious about it and start taking steps to make it happen. Again, it's birthed from the inside out, just like health is birthed from the inside out. It's just an amazing way. If you can really dig into that, you can be really creative in creating your reality.
Yeah. And I think my experience with all of it is just like no one's focused. There's just a complete lack of focus, just especially in entrepreneurship. We get all these great ideas and distractions, and there's opportunities everywhere. And that just the fact of writing that down, and I have a thing I do where I read it every single morning and I have these things written down. And I think the biggest benefit, and it's not even like, it's not this woo woo magical thing. It's that my brain literally focuses on it. And I am constantly looking for those opportunities and it stays in front of me.
It's consciousness. It's totally quantum physics. I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like speaking affirmation, speaking vision, hearing your own voice speak your vision does something to your subconscious that the science hasn't been able to explain. We are not expert of the brain yet. As a science community in our world, we still are very much limited on the knowledge of the brain and how it works and what this does to the outside world. There's so much that we can learn from some of our past gurus that have known this, but didn't know the science to explain it. And you're finding that in visions and goals and business makes the sky the limit.
Yeah. And it just creates a level of clarity, right? A level of clarity of knowing what you want. And that's half the battle of knowing even what you want is half the battle. Obviously you've developed along the way, right? You opened your business. You had no idea what you're doing. You knew how to do chiropractic care, but that's running a business and just being a chiropractor, two totally different skill sets. And obviously you guys have moved along and climbed that ladder where it seems like to me that it's that you guys were constantly open to getting better and learning from mentors and just continuously learning on how to do things better.
Never ending constant improvement. It is.
Yeah.
If you're like, what else is next? If you're not going to continue to grow, like what else is next? Because if you do that, then you're going to be like, the current is going this way. And if you aren't swimming with it, you're going to
fall behind.
What they say, dead fish, only flow against the current. Like you're going to fall behind. And I think that's primal, ingrained instinct in our genetic makeup. I don't think that we can separate from always wanting to improve, especially when you start to get into that routine. I feel like it comes from my soul.
Yeah. And everybody's got little different personalities around that thing. A lot of the main personality test or whatever you want to call it that I use called Culture Index, there's a measurement of that, of like the amount of patience or pace that someone moves at.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't gotten your profile, but I'm going to assume you have a super low C, meaning like you move at a very quick pace and you don't like sitting still.
Sitting still, quieting my mind, not doing. It takes some valiant effort. My body gets really uncomfortable. My mind has to be very strong to keep it there. It's really an interesting thing. Personality profiles, definitely. I'm a high driver. Let's go. I really in my gut know that I'm here to really influence and make a big difference. And like life is short. Life is a spark. it happens so fast that I want to get as much of it in as I possibly can. Let's race towards this finish line and improve this world as much as I can and have the biggest, widest experience that I possibly can because I get one shot at this life and I'm going to go at it. We talk about always getting better. It's not always in the business world. Can I be a better mom? What can I do there? Can I be better fitness? What can I do there? What can I do to challenge my body to even be better? Like, what else is there to do?
If you're not getting better, you're like, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? There is no such thing as sitting still. We all got one life. It's incredibly short in the scheme of humanity and the universe. It's insanely short. And you can make the argument, it's like, what's all this for? Like, at some point within 150 years, no one's going to know who any of us are or were. I agree with you in creating a legacy and whatnot. And I think freedom can be found, or some level of freedom can be found in realizing that while, yes, everything you do matters, but if you zoom out and take a bigger view, you're not that important. There's freedom in that. It's like, quit worrying about what anybody thinks or whatever, because in a couple hundred years, everybody you know is going to be dead anyway. Don't let external pressure stop you, right?
That's a really hard thing sometimes too. And sometimes you just got to make the purpose bigger than the people, as far as like the naysayers and the folks that don't think like you just got to know what you're called to and just keep stepping into it. Because obstacles will happen. You will have challenges along the way. There will be times that you want to quit. But if you go back to why did you start it to begin with, you'll be able to have the tenacity to push past those obstacles. And the obstacles teach us stuff. I read that book, Ryan Holiday's book. It has great books in general.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, gosh. What a blessing we have to have him in our generation. But he just teaching that going through them actually grows you and they're there for a purpose so you can learn from them. There's always a reason. There's always a purpose.
Yeah. And the obstacle is the way, right? It's his book. He teaches a lot about stoicism and how to actually apply a lot of those ideas practically in your life. So yeah, he's got a great podcast and books and everything out there. Alex Hormozi, he puts out a lot of business content, but he talks about, it's like, okay, if you were like to design a human being and you wanted them to have the skill of patience, like what would you do? Like you wouldn't make their life easy. You would design events that allow them to develop patience. And those are obstacles, right? Mm-hmm. The person in that's not going to, they're just going to see those as problems and obstacles. But if you don't face those are the things that literally develop.
They do. And that goes into like parenting skills and parenting styles and letting your children do hard things, letting yourself go through hard things. I just did a talk about Homeric stress and like putting yourself in a stressful situation to create a stress response for a positive outcome. If you're too soft around yourself, you'll be soft and this world will eat you out.
Yeah. And that's what working out is, right? Is putting yourself in a stressful situation. You're stressing your muscles. Now it's important, like there's like a zone there of like where there's growth, right? Where you're putting yourself in a stressful situation and it's not too stressful, because like too stressful, like you go in the gym, you try to bench 225 pounds and you've never worked out, you're going to stretch too far and you're going to experience trauma there. Mm-hmm. It's finding that area that's just beyond your reach that pushes you.
Mm-hmm. It's like the stone that gets polished.
So what would you credit, Arminta, as the best decision you've ever made? Now, it could be business, family. That's a big old question. And there's never just one. But what would you say to that question?
This is hard, Peyton. I didn't know this was coming at me. Best decision I've ever made. My faith decision, I think I've got to lean on my faith as far as that goes. I think that so many of the other decisions that I have made have used that as a foundation, that in so many of the major miracles that I've witnessed in my life have gone back to, but God, there's no other explanation. And so I think that I really think that the one decision that I have to give is the most important. And because it aligns so many other decisions, as far as like business goes, I hired a consultant once, Barry Anderson and Dan Bay. I got to give credit to Barry Anderson has passed, but Dan is still very much a leader in the chiropractic profession as far as sales and teaching people the business aspect of it. And I tell you what, Barry Anderson changed my life, and Dan and his network that he has continues to change my life with the groups and the mentors and the the masterminds that we're involved with, because we do a ton of mastermind work on a routine basis. I'm on a call every Tuesday, 7 a.m. Like, I don't care if I'm on vacation. I don't care if it's Christmas Eve. I don't care. We're there together. We travel together as do annual trips together to learn. And I would not know these guys without that aspect. And it really helped save my company as far as getting the structure together.
Yeah, and the awesome thing about, like, mastermind groups like that, and especially if you get, like, an industry specific thing, like, you're cutting years off your learning curve,
Mhm.
right? Like, your business would be probably 5 years behind it where it is now, right? You've just cut years off the timeline to get to where you're at now.
I think it's where the real learning happens. Like school is strictly, it's a weed out process for people that really want to do it.
Yeah.
But like learning, like real learning happens afterwards. I feel clinically,
Yeah.
business wise, without a doubt. I've learned more about the body and how to help it heal since I've been out of school. It's one of my favorite parts about life is that learning thing.
Yeah, and it's I don't know if you know Jim Rohn, he was a big motivational speaker back in the day in the 90s and 80s and stuff, but he had a quote that was like, "Education will make you a living, but like self-education will make you a fortune." Like school is the baseline. The valuable stuff is stuff you gotta go find and do on your own.
Mhm. Very much so.
On the flip side, tell me, on this entrepreneur journey, tell me some of the mistakes you've had. What's one big mistake that was an obstacle and you learned from it? We like to talk about our mistakes here too, just so other people don't put us on some sort of pedestal, right?
There's a lot of
Um,
those. There's a lot of them. I don't think that we can not make mistakes. And I think that when we make mistakes, it's just like, can I get up as fast as I can and just keep going forward? Let's not do that again. And like we've made mistakes where we've, lost lots of money in situations where it's like, oh, probably shouldn't have hired that guy. That wasn't the right idea. Or I think that the biggest mistake, though, and like one that you can learn from, and like probably everybody has done in business to some extent or another, but once you learn from it once, you're like, I'm not going to do that again. And this actually changed a core value within our office is excellence, mediocrity versus excellence, and like taking shortcuts. And if you take the shortcut, you're just going to end up getting bit in the butt in the long run of it. And there's like certain aspects of what we have to do on a day in and day out basis, like paperwork and stuff like that, that nobody in our profession likes. But you have to do it and you have to do it or you're going to have to answer to it. So I think almost everybody, if you've been in the profession long enough, as far as a clinic, gets audited to some certain extent. So getting audited and having to show we didn't get in any trouble for it, thank God. But at the same time, it's like somebody's looking up your skirt and you gotta make sure your P's and Q's are where they need to be. And like going through that process and like it's acceptable. And so I didn't get in trouble for it, but it wasn't excellent. And so it was like a burdensome stress that I didn't need. And I'm like, never again. There are systems put in place. We cannot have anything but excellent because otherwise you got to work for the cleanup afterwards and it's not worth the stress on the back end.
we had a conversation in my office. It's always something that we keep in the forefront is okay, what do in the moment what sets future Payton up the best, right? There's things where you could cut corners or whatever, but it's like you always got to think about your future self because like you cut that corner, like you said, someday you're going to have to come back and it's going to be a bigger problem and it's going to be a big mess that you got to come back and fix. That if you were just thinking about your future self, that would have been taken care of with way less effort in the moment. So looking back at the start of your journey, right? You're coming out of chiropractic school. You got Jackson on the way, which Jackson's my buddy. I love hanging out with Jackson. Your son.
He loves
Right?
you.
He's fun to hang out with. So looking back to that time, and you could give yourself one piece of advice that you think would be the most helpful for you, what would that be?
Don't second guess yourself. Like if you get an intuition to do something, you do it and don't let somebody else do it first. Like you have an intuition that if you get an instinct, just go. And if you're not supposed to, you'll get another direction to take a different detour. But like the last thing that you ever want, and Barry Anderson, keep coming back to this man, like thank you, Barry. You don't ever want to get to your deathbed and have the questions, if I had only. I want to leave like full on. I want to leave such a legacy and I want to make sure that I'm like, yes, I did it. I killed this life. It's great. Like that's really the goal of every day. Can I get up and make sure that I'm making my future self that one that can like be peaceful and be like, I'm proud of myself. I can do that. Good job. Peace out.
And like another podcast I listen to a lot, it's called Impact Theory. It's a
I
guy on there
love
named Tom
him.
Malou.
Yeah.
Yeah, founder of Quest Nutrition and stuff. And he talks about the only thing that really matters is how you feel about yourself when you're alone with yourself, right? Ultimately, that's the only thing that matters. And you're the only one that can answer that. You're the only one that can answer yourself, okay, did I put in the effort I wanted to do? You can put in no effort, have a decent result, and everybody else thinks you're great, but you're not happy because you know you left something on the table, right?
That is so true. That hits home deep. That's a polished one.
Yeah, so that's good stuff. Arminta, anything else you want to share with the listeners?
Follow your dreams. Let your ideas stir inside of you, visions and dreams that excite you. And whenever you get excited on the inside, chase that because that's the direction you're supposed to be going because energy is everything. And if you are elevated and elated about doing something or creating something or giving something, then do that because there's a reason why your energy is so high. And when we do things at high energies, there's high impact and high outcome.
And when you live in that high energy world, you're also going to be able to run nonstop and not even feel like it gives you energy, right? You're never going to run out of energy if you're chasing that high energy
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
So what's the best way people can connect with you, Arminta? They like what you hear.
Our website's got like a plethora of information. So achievebalancechiropractic.com is our website. I have a podcast on there that I used to record podcasts as well, but that has been a thing of the past. But lots of local
We're going to get that going again.
wellness practitioners. I need to. I'm just creating space and energy for it. And so there's podcasts on the website. There's lots of blogs, so good information. Our Facebook page has got information about what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it. We put on events in the office. You're welcome to just come on by and have a cup of coffee. Our phone number is obviously on Google. Just look us up and come and find us. And we are a big building on Forum as you go down the hill right there at Forum and Woodbrail Drive.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, guys, go check them out. They, like I said, they've got a heck of a reputation here in Columbia, winning lots of awards, and you can really feel it when you go in there, just how much they care and how much they're trying to help. They're always out in the community at different community events as well. Just being there and being a great part of the community. Check her out, especially if you're in the Columbia area. Arminta, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Peyton. I so appreciate it.
All right, listeners, we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people, as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Peyton Squires, or going to PeytonSquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.